The small medical clinic on Space Station Horizon was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Captain Tae-ho Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished treating a miner with plasma burns. His dark eyes showed kindness that had survived years of war. "Rest now," he told the miner in a calm voice. "The medicine will help with pain." The door to his clinic slid open with a hiss. Tae-ho looked up, expecting another patient. Instead, his assistant Jun stood there, face pale. "Dr. Kim," Jun whispered. "There's a council ship docking at the station." Tae-ho frowned. The Galactic Council rarely visited small stations like Horizon. "What do they want here?" Jun shook his head. "I don't know. But it's not just any council ship. It's gray with black markings." Tae-ho's blood went cold. Everyone in the galaxy knew what those colors meant. The execution division had arrived. On the other side of the station, Commander Da-hyun stepped onto Horizon, his tall gray form towering over the humans who quickly moved out of his way. Behind him walked Jin-soo, his second-in-command, and 2 armed guards. Their black uniforms with silver trim marked them as members of the most feared organization in the galaxy. "This station is primitive," Jin-soo said, looking around with distaste. "It serves our purpose," Da-hyun replied. His voice was deep and flat. "The human doctor is here." They walked through the station's main hall. People from a dozen different worlds pressed themselves against walls to let them pass. A child began to cry, quickly hushed by its terrified mother. Da-hyun noticed, but showed no reaction. Fear was normal. Expected. The execution division had enforced the council's final judgments for over 2,000 years. Their reputation was built on absolute efficiency and zero mercy. But now that reputation was in danger. Back in his office, Tae-ho looked over his patient files, trying to focus on his work instead of the rumors about council executioners on the station. 3 years had passed since he left Earth's military. He had seen enough death in the Mars conflict to last several lifetimes. His computer screen showed the smiling face of a young girl whose broken arm he had treated yesterday. Simple work. Good work. Far from the battlefield medic he had once been, saving soldiers only so they could return to killing. The door chimed. Tae-ho looked up. "Come in," he called. The door opened. 3 tall gray figures filled the frame, their black uniforms absorbing the light around them. The one in front had markings on his collar that Tae-ho recognized as high rank. "Captain Tae-ho Kim," the leader said. It wasn't a question. Tae-ho stood slowly. "I'm not a captain anymore, just a doctor. I am Commander Da-hyun of the Galactic Council's Execution Division. This is Administrator Jin-soo and Chief Technician Ha-won." Tae-ho's mouth went dry. "What does the Execution Division want with me?" Da-hyun's face showed no emotion. "We have studied your work during the Mars conflict. Your methods for treating enemy combatants were unusual." "I treated them like people," Tae-ho said simply, "because that's what they were." "Yet your side won the war," Jin-soo said, sounding confused. "Winning doesn't always mean killing everyone," Tae-ho replied. The 3 executioners exchanged looks. Then Da-hyun did something completely unexpected. He lowered his head slightly, almost a bow. "We have come to learn from you, Dr. Kim." Tae-ho stared in shock. "Learn what?" "The Execution Division has existed for 2,000 years, Da-hyun said. "We carry out the final justice of the Council across the galaxy. But recently, our methods have been questioned. 3 executions failed." Ha-won spoke for the first time. "The subject suffered greatly before death. It was inefficient." Tae-ho felt sick. "And what do you think I can do about that?" Commander Da-hyun's eyes met his directly. "Teach us about mercy, human. We wish to learn how to kill better." The silence in Tae-ho's office stretched for a long moment. The doctor looked at the 3 executioners standing before him, their gray faces unreadable. "You want me to teach you how to kill better?" Tae-ho finally asked, his voice tight. "Not exactly. Commander Dahyun said, "We know how to kill. We have done it for thousands of years. What we do not understand is how to kill with mercy." Tae-ho shook his head. "I'm a doctor. I save lives, not take them." Jin-soo stepped forward, holding out a small device. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above it. Tae-ho saw himself, younger, kneeling beside a wounded enemy soldier on the red dust of Mars. "This is you during the Mars conflict," Jin-soo said. "You treated enemy soldiers even when resources were limited." The hologram changed to show Tae-ho speaking to a military council. His face was angry as he pointed at charts and diagrams. "And here," Jin-soo continued, "you argued against certain weapons because they caused unnecessary suffering." Tae-ho remembered that day well. The military had wanted to use nerve gas that would have caused hours of pain before death. He had fought against it and nearly lost his position. "How did you get these records?" Tae-ho asked. "The council watches all developing worlds," Ha-won said simply. "Humans are interesting to us. You are fierce warriors who will fight to the death to protect your own. Yet you also created the most detailed rules of war in the galaxy, designed to reduce suffering." Commander Dahyun folded his hands behind his back. "This is the paradox that brought us to you. Humans understand both death and mercy. We need this knowledge." 3 hours later, Tae-ho stood in his quarters, packing the small bag. His hand shook slightly as he folded a shirt and placed it inside. The door chimed. "Come in," he called. Jun entered, his eyes wide. "Is it true? You're leaguing with them?" Tae-ho nodded. "Just for a few weeks. They've agreed to bring me back." "But they're executioners," Jun whispered. "No one who goes with them ever returns." Tae-ho zipped his bag closed. "They're not here to execute anyone. They want to learn." "Learn what?" "How to be more humane." Tae-ho almost laughed at how strange it sounded. "They're having problems with their methods. People are suffering when they shouldn't have to." Jun shook his head. "Since when do executioners care about suffering?" "That's what I asked them." Tae-ho sat down on his bed. "Do you know what they told me? The council is losing control of the outer systems. People are starting to question their authority. The execution division's reputation is built on fear, but also on efficiency. If they can't kill cleanly, they lose respect." "So this is all political," Jun said. Tae-ho shrugged. "Maybe, but if I can help reduce suffering in the galaxy, even among those condemned to die, isn't that worth doing?" Commander Dahyun stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the view screen. Behind him, Jin-soo and Ha-won waited quietly. "Do you think the human will actually help us?" Jin-soo asked softly. "He agreed to come," Dahyun replied. "But will he understand our purpose?" Ha-won pressed. "The division must maintain its authority. The council depends on us." Dahyun turned to face them. "I reviewed all records of human execution methods throughout their history. They began with pain and public spectacle, much like our current approach. But they evolved. Their methods became private, quick, and painless. Yet the authority of their governments remained. Chief Justice Sung-min will not approve," Jin-soo warned. "He believes in tradition." "Tradition is failing us," Dahyun said flatly. 3 botched executions in one cycle, subjects taking hours to die. Videos spreading through the networks. The division is becoming a mockery. A light on the console flashed. "The human has boarded," an officer reported. Dahyun nodded. "Take us out of orbit. Set course for Central." As the ship pulled away from Station Horizon, Dahyun looked at the small medical bag Tae-ho had brought aboard. Inside it was something the execution division desperately needed, though they did not yet understand it: humanity. Tae-ho had never seen a ship like this before. From the outside, the executioner's vessel had appeared like a long gray blade cutting through space. Inside, it was cold, both in temperature and design. The walls were smooth metal with no decoration. The lights were bright, but somehow added no warmth. "These will be your quarters," Jin Su said, stopping at a door that looked like all the others in the long hallway. The door slid open to reveal a small room with a bed, desk, and what Taeho assumed was a bathroom. Unlike the rest of the ship, this room had a splash of color. A deep blue blanket on the bed. "The color is for you," Jin Su explained, noticing Taeho's surprise. "We researched human comfort needs. Your species responds well to color." "Thank you," Taeho said, placing his bag on the desk. "Where is everyone?" "I've hardly seen any crew." "There are 200 crew members on board," Jin Su replied. "Most are in stasis until needed. The execution division travels far, and resources must be conserved." Taeho nodded. The thought of bodies sleeping in pods throughout the ship made him uneasy. "When do we start?" "Commander Daehyun requests your presence in the main hall in 1 hour. I will return to guide you." After Jin Su left, Taeho sat on the edge of the bed. What had he gotten himself into? These beings killed people for a living. They traveled the galaxy carrying out final justice for the Council, and now they wanted his help to do it better. He remembered his time as a military medic. How many lives had he saved during the Mars conflict? And how many of those people had gone on to take more lives? He had sworn to do no harm, but what was harm in this context? If he helped the executioners, would he be causing harm or reducing it? The main hall of the ship was larger than Taeho expected. 30 gray-skinned beings stood in perfect rows, all wearing the same black uniforms with different silver markings to show their rank. At the front stood Commander Daehyun with Jin Su and Howon slightly behind him. As Taeho entered, all eyes turned to him. He felt small among them. They were each at least a head taller than him, with thin bodies and long fingers. "This is Dr. Taeho Kim of Earth," Daehyun announced. "He will be teaching us about mercy." A murmur went through the assembled crew. One stepped forward, older than the others, with deeper lines on his gray face. "Commander, this is unprecedented," the older being said. "The division has never sought outside counsel. Chief Justice Sung Min, the division has never failed in its duties before," Daehyun replied. "Times change. We must adapt." Sung Min's eyes narrowed as he looked at Taeho. "And you believe this human knows better than 2,000 years of tradition?" "I don't claim to know better," Taeho said before Daehyun could answer. "I simply offer a different perspective. What can you teach us that we don't already know about death?" Sung Min challenged. The room went silent. Taeho looked around at the cold eyes watching him. These beings had ended countless lives across the galaxy. They were experts in death, but knew nothing of dignity. "I'm not here to teach you about death," Taeho said clearly. "I'm here to teach you about life, about why it matters even in its final moments." Howon tilted her head, confusion visible on her face. "But our purpose is to end life." "No," Taeho replied. "Your purpose is to carry out justice. Death is just the method. And how you do it, with cruelty or with mercy, that reflects the true nature of your justice." Commander Daehyun stepped forward. "This is why the human is here. Our methods have become—" He paused, searching for the word. "Cruel." Taeho finished for him. "And cruelty undermines justice." Chief Justice Sung Min's face hardened. "We will see, human. We will see." "Show me your execution chamber," Taeho said the next morning. Commander Daehyun and Jin Su exchanged looks. "Are you certain?" Daehyun asked. "Most species find it disturbing. I need to see it to understand what we're working with," Taeho explained. "I was a battlefield medic. I've seen worse." The three of them walked down a long corridor to a sealed door at the end. Daehyun pressed his hand to a panel, and the door slid open. Taeho steeled himself as they entered. The room was large and circular. In the center stood a metal platform with restraints. Around it were various machines with tubes and sharp implements. The walls were lined with seats, like a small arena. "You have an audience," Taiho noted, his voice tight. The council representatives must witness justice being carried out. Jin Su explained. It is tradition. Taiho walked slowly around the room, examining the equipment. What's your current method? Haiwan, who had been waiting inside, stepped forward. The standard procedure uses a nerve stimulator to stop vital functions. Death occurs within 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes. Taiho repeated, horrified. That's not an execution. That's torture. It is justice. Chief Justice Sung Min said, entering the room behind them. The condemned must feel the weight of their crimes. Taiho turned to face the old executioner. Pain doesn't equal justice. It's just pain. What would you suggest, human? Sung Min asked with clear skepticism. First, I need to understand what crimes warrant execution in your system. Commander Dahyun nodded to Jin Su, who projected a list onto the wall. Mass murder, genocide, treason against the council, destruction of inhabited worlds, high-level violations of galactic law. Taiho read through the list. These were serious crimes, comparable to the worst offenses on Earth. These criminals have done terrible things, he acknowledged, but that doesn't mean their punishment should be terrible too. Explain, Dahyun said. Justice isn't about matching cruelty with cruelty, Taiho said. It's about upholding a standard that's better than what the criminal did. He walked to the center platform and placed his hand on it. On Earth, we learned this lesson over centuries. We started with public, painful executions, hanging, burning, even tearing people apart. But we realized something important. Cruel punishments don't just hurt the criminal. They hurt society itself. How can punishment hurt those who are not punished? Haiwan asked, genuinely curious. Because it changes how people see justice, Taiho explained. If your justice is cruel, people fear it but don't respect it. And the ones carrying it out, they're changed too. He looked directly at the executioners. Have you noticed yourselves becoming harder, colder, less affected by suffering? A few of them shifted uncomfortably. Haiwan looked down. This is your first lesson. Taiho continued. Mercy isn't weakness, it's strength. It says, we are better than our worst criminals. We don't need to cause pain to show our power. The council expects suffering, Sung Min argued. The condemned must be seen paying for their crimes. Death is the payment, Taiho countered. Anything beyond that is just cruelty for its own sake. Commander Dahyun had been silent, listening carefully. Now he spoke. How would you change our methods, Doctor? I would make death quick, painless, and dignified, Taiho said. No audience except official witnesses. No unnecessary pain. A clean, swift end. Like putting an animal to sleep, Jin Su asked. No, Taiho shook his head. Like treating a sentient being with basic dignity, even in their final moments. Sung Min scoffed. You want us to be kind to murderers and traitors. I want you to be kind to yourselves, Taiho replied. Because every time you choose cruelty, it leaves a mark on you. That's why your methods are failing. Deep down, even executioners know when something is wrong. Word of Taiho's ideas spread quickly through the ship. Some crew members watched him with curiosity when he walked the halls. Others avoided him entirely. A week had passed since his first lesson, and the tension was growing. In his quarters, Taiho reviewed the materials Jin Su had provided. Records of past executions, council mandates, and a long history of the execution division. The more he read, the more he understood the challenge ahead. These beings had been doing things the same way for thousands of years. A soft chime at his door interrupted his reading. Come in, he called. The door slid open to reveal Haiwan. She stepped inside, her movements stiff and formal. Chief Technician, Taiho greeted her. What can I do for you? I have questions, she said, about humans. Taiho gestured to the chair across from him. Please sit. What do you want to know? Haiwan sat down carefully. Your species has a violent history. You fought wars that killed millions, yet you also created rules to make war less cruel. Why? That's a big question, Taiho said with a small smile. I guess we learned that violence without limits destroys everything, including the victors. The council believes that fear maintains order, Hadwan said. Public executions remind people of the cost of breaking laws. Does it work? Taiho asked. Hadwan hesitated. Crime still exists. Exactly. Fear only works to a point. True order comes from respect for the law, not just fear of punishment. Hadwan tilted her head, considering his words. I have been studying Earth history. Your species once used public executions too. Hanging, beheading, burning. Yes, Taiho nodded. Dark chapters in our past. Yet you changed. Why? Because we realized that how we punish says more about us than about those we punish. In Commander Dahyun's office, a heated discussion was underway. Chief Justice Sung Min stood before the commander's desk, his aged face tight with anger. This human is poisoning the crew with soft ideas, Sung Min argued. 3 officers have already requested reassignment from execution duty. This undermines our authority. Dahyun remained calm. The division faces a crisis, old friend. Our methods are failing. The council is questioning our effectiveness. Our methods have worked for 2,000 years. And now they don't, Dahyun said firmly. The last execution took 23 minutes. The council representatives were disturbed. Videos are spreading across the galaxy. We are becoming a symbol of cruelty, not justice. Some men paced the small office. So we need better technology, not mercy lessons from a species barely out of their own planet. Perhaps what we need is both, Dahyun suggested. Taiho's perspective is valuable precisely because it is different from ours. The door chimed and Jin Su entered. Commander, we've received new orders from the council. An execution is scheduled in 3 days. The criminal is Bakgil, the pirate leader who attacked the colony ships in the Outer Rim. Dahyun nodded. Inform Dr. Kim. I want him to observe our current protocol firsthand. Sung Min's eyes widened. You would let an outsider witness the sacred duty of the division. Yes, Dahyun said simply. Because if we cannot bear to have our methods seen, perhaps they should not be used at all. That night, Taiho couldn't sleep. The thought of watching an execution, even for educational purposes, filled him with dread. He had seen death before, too much of it during the war. But this would be different. This would be planned, methodical. A quiet knock at his door startled him. He opened it to find Hadwan standing there, looking troubled. I apologize for the late hour, she said, but there is something you need to know before the execution. What is it? Taiho asked. Hadwan glanced down the empty hallway. Not all of us agree with Chief Justice Sung Min. Some of us want to learn your way. She paused, then added quietly. Some of us are tired of the nightmares. The day of the execution arrived. Taiho stood beside Commander Dahyun as the prisoner was brought into the ship. Bakgil was not what Taiho expected. The pirate leader was small, with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms. His eyes darted around fearfully as 2 guards led him through the corridors. He raided 17 colony ships. Jin Su explained quietly. Over 300 died, including children. Taiho nodded. This was no innocent man, but watching him tremble as he walked toward his death, Taiho saw only a frightened being who knew what was coming. Commander, Taiho said suddenly, I want to propose something. Dahyun looked down at him. What is it, Doctor? Let me demonstrate a humane execution. Show your crew there's another way. A murmur went through the assembled officers. Chief Justice Sung Min stepped forward. Absolutely not. This human has no authority, To. I am still commander of this division. Dahyun cut him off. And I am interested in the doctor's proposal. He turned back to Taiho. What do you need? Access to your medical supplies. An hour to prepare. And your word that I can proceed without interference. Da-hyun considered for a moment, then nodded. Granted. Jin-soo, assist the doctor with whatever he requires. Sung-min's face darkened with anger, but he said nothing more. An hour later, the execution chamber looked different. Tae-ho had removed the restraints from the central platform and covered it with a clean white cloth. The machines with their tubes and sharp instruments had been pushed to the side. A simple intravenous line was prepared, connected to a clear solution. The chamber was quieter too. Instead of the usual harsh lights, Tae-ho had dimmed them slightly. He had also requested that only essential witnesses be present. Commander Da-hyun, Jin-soo, Ha-won, and the required council representative. What is the meaning of this? Chief Justice Sung-min demanded as he entered and saw the changes. Where is the rest of the division? The viewing gallery should be full. Not today, Tae-ho said firmly. Today we show respect not just for the law, but for life itself. When they brought Bok-gil in, the pirate looked confused by the changed room. His eyes found Tae-ho, the only non-executioner present. Who are you? Bok-gil asked, his voice rough from fear. My name is Tae-ho. I'm a doctor. A doctor? Bok-gil gave a bitter laugh. You've come to heal me before they torture me to death. No, Tae-ho said quietly. I've come to make sure you die with dignity. No pain, no fear, just sleep, then nothing. Bok-gil stared at him in disbelief. Why would you care? Because how we treat those we condemn shows who we truly are, Tae-ho said, aware that the executioners were listening closely. With gentle hands, Tae-ho helped Bok-gil onto the covered platform. The pirate didn't resist. Will it hurt? He asked. No, Tae-ho promised. You'll feel sleepy. That's all. Tae-ho carefully inserted the IV line and checked that everything was ready. Then he looked at Bok-gil. Do you want to say anything before we proceed? Tears filled the pirate's 4 eyes. Tell the families. I'm sorry. I never wanted the children to die. Tae-ho nodded. I'll make sure they know. He turned to Da-hyun. Commander, as the authority here, you must give the final order. Da-hyun stepped forward. His voice was formal, but quieter than usual. Bok-gil of the Outer Rim, for the crimes of piracy and murder, the Galactic Council has sentenced you to death. This sentence will now be carried out. Tae-ho pressed a button on the IV unit. Clear liquid flowed into Bok-gil's arm. The pirate's eyes stayed on Tae-ho. Thank you, he whispered as his eyelids grew heavy. Within seconds, Bok-gil was unconscious. 30 seconds later, his heart stopped. No pain, no struggle, just silence. The room remained quiet for a long moment. Then Ha-won spoke, her voice barely audible. He thanked you, she said, sounding bewildered. In thousands of executions, I have never heard that before. News of Bok-gil's peaceful execution spread quickly through the ship. Crew members who had avoided Tae-ho now nodded respectfully when they passed him in the corridors. Even some who had opposed his methods seemed thoughtful rather than hostile. 2 weeks later, Tae-ho sat with Commander Da-hyun, reviewing changes to the execution protocols. The door to the commander's office slid open, and Jin-soo entered with a troubled expression. Commander, we've received new orders, Jin-soo said, placing a datapad on the desk. Da-hyun read the screen, his face growing hard. How many? 12, Jin-soo replied. All from the Vega system. The rebellion leaders. Tae-ho looked between them. What's happening? Da-hyun turned the pad so Tae-ho could see. The Vega system rebelled against Council rule 3 months ago. The rebellion has been crushed. Now the Council wants the leaders executed as an example to others. Tae-ho scanned the information. These aren't criminals like Bok-gil. They're political prisoners. In the eyes of the Council, rebellion is the highest crime, Jin-soo explained. The Council has specifically ordered that these executions be public and traditional, Da-hyun added, to deter other systems from following Vega's example. Taiho's stomach turned. You mean painful? Drawn out. Yes, Dahyun admitted, and they've requested that all 12 be executed consecutively, in the same day, with representatives from 20 systems required to attend. That's not justice, Taiho said, rising from his chair. That's a spectacle of cruelty. It is the council's will, Jin-Soo stated, though his voice lacked conviction. Will you help us prepare the humane alternative, in case the council can be persuaded? Dahyun asked Taiho. Before Taiho could answer, Chief Justice Sung-min entered without announcing himself. There will be no alternatives, he declared. I've spoken directly with the High Council. They are most displeased with the changes implemented for Bakgil's execution. They remind us that the division exists to enforce the council's will, not to question it. Dahyun stood. I am still commander of this division. For now, Sung-min said coldly. The council is reconsidering leadership positions. The threat hung in the air. Taiho looked at Dahyun, whose face revealed nothing, though his hand had tightened into fists at his sides. That evening, Taiho paced in his quarters. The thought of 12 people suffering for hours in the name of justice was unbearable. But what could he do? He was just one human on a ship full of executioners. His door chimed. When it opened, Ha-won stood there with Jin-Soo. May we enter? Jin-Soo asked quietly. Taiho nodded and stepped aside. Once the door closed, Jin-Soo spoke in a hushed voice. The prisoners arrive tomorrow. Preparations for the traditional method are underway. I won't be part of it, Taiho said firmly. We're not asking you to be, Ha-won replied. But you should know, many in the crew are troubled by this order. What you showed us with Bakgil, it changed things. Commander Dahyun has requested a private meeting with the council representatives, Jin-Soo added. He will argue for your methods. But Sung-min has much influence with the older council members. What happens if Dahyun fails? Taiho asked. Jin-Soo and Ha-won exchanged glances. Then the executions proceed as ordered, Jin-Soo said. And Commander Dahyun will likely be removed from his position. And all your work here will be undone, Ha-won added softly. Taiho sank onto his bed. There must be something we can do. There might be, Ha-won said, her voice barely above a whisper. But it would mean breaking the most sacred rule of the division. No interference with council justice. What are you suggesting? Taiho asked. Jin-Soo looked directly at him. Doctor, what you taught us about mercy, was it only for the condemned? Or does mercy sometimes require action, even when that action carries great risk? Taiho understood then. They weren't just asking for his advice. They were asking for his help in what could only be called rebellion. Morning arrived with a tense silence throughout the ship. The prisoners from Vega were due to arrive in 3 hours. Commander Dahyun's meeting with the council representatives had gone poorly. They had refused to consider the humane methods. Taiho stood in his quarters, looking at the small medical kit he had assembled overnight. It contained enough sedative to ensure 12 peaceful deaths instead of painful ones. Using it without authorization would violate every rule of the division. A gentle knock at his door. Ha-won entered, her face tight with worry. It's time, she said. The execution chamber is being prepared. Chief Justice Sung-min is overseeing everything personally. And Dahyun, still commander, but his authority has been limited. The council representatives watch him closely. Taiho nodded and picked up his medical kit. Let's go. They walked through back corridors of the ship, avoiding the main halls where council representatives from 20 systems were already gathering. Jin-Soo met them at a service entrance to the execution chamber. Sung-min has ordered the old equipment recalibrated, Jin-Soo reported quietly. Maximum pain settings, extended duration. He wants to make an example of these rebels. Taiho felt sick. We can't let that happen. The control panel is guarded, Ha-won said. But I can access the medical support systems. If you can prepare the sedative, I can add it to the fluid lines. It will be noticed, Jin Su warned. Not immediately, Ha-One replied. Not if I adjust the monitors too. Tai-Ho looked at them both, aliens who had spent their lives ending others, now risking everything to show mercy. You understand what this means. If we're caught, we'll be executed ourselves, Jin Su finished. Yes, we understand. They worked quickly. Tai-Ho prepared the sedative while Ha-One accessed the medical systems. Jin Su kept watch, warning them when guards passed nearby. Just as they finished, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. The prisoners are arriving, Jin Su said. We need to get to our positions before we're missed. Ha-One closed the access panel. It's done. The sedative will enter the main lines as soon as the system activates. They separated, each going to their assigned stations. Tai-Ho took his place in the witness area, where he was required to observe as the medical consultant. The room filled with council representatives in formal robes. Commander Da-Hyun stood rigid at the control platform, his face a mask. Chief Justice Sung-min moved from station to station, checking each piece of equipment personally. The first prisoner was brought in, a woman with silver skin who walked with dignity despite her chains. Her eyes found Tai-Ho's briefly, seeming to recognize him as different from the others. Proceed, ordered the lead council representative. Da-Hyun gave the command to activate the system. Tai-Ho held his breath as the machines hummed to life. The prisoner was secured to the platform, tubes connected to her arms. Then Sung-min shouted, "Stop! The medical readings are wrong." He rushed to a monitor, examined it closely, then turned to glare directly at Ha-One. The fluid composition has been altered. Someone has tampered with the system. Guards moved instantly, surrounding Ha-One. She stood tall, making no attempt to deny it. Take her to detention, Sung-min ordered. Check all systems before we continue. As the guards led Ha-One away, her eyes met Tai-Ho's. There was no regret in them, only calm certainty. She had chosen mercy, knowing the cost. Sung-min stalked across the room to where Tai-Ho stood. You, he hissed. This was your doing. Your human ideas have corrupted her. Before Tai-Ho could respond, Jin Su stepped forward. Chief Justice, if Ha-One is guilty, then so am I. I helped her. A murmur ran through the watching council representatives. Sung-min's face darkened with rage. Traitors, you betray 2,000 years of tradition for what? Comfort for criminals. For mercy, Jin Su said simply. Something we should have learned long ago. Commander Da-Hyun's voice cut through the chaos. Take them both to detention. The human too. His eyes met Tai-Ho's, and for a moment, something passed between them. Regret, understanding, perhaps even approval. As guards surrounded Tai-Ho, he thought of Earth, so far away. He had come to teach mercy to the galaxy's executioners. Instead, he might be about to receive their justice. The detention cell was cold and bare. Tai-Ho sat on a hard bench beside Ha-One and Jin Su, all three waiting for their fate to be decided. They had been there for hours, the ship's engines humming beneath them. I'm sorry I involved you both, Tai-Ho said quietly. Ha-One shook her head. You didn't force us. We chose this. Once we saw another way, we couldn't go back, Jin Su added. Your lessons changed us. The door slid open. Commander Da-Hyun entered, his face grave. Behind him stood Chief Justice Sung-min and two council representatives. The council has reached a decision, Da-Hyun announced. The crime of interfering with galactic justice is punishable by death. Tai-Ho nodded. He had expected nothing less. Beside him, Ha-One and Jin Su remained calm. However, Da-Hyun continued. Before sentence is carried out, the full council wishes to hear from all parties. You will be brought before them immediately. The council chamber was vast and circular. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy sat in tiered seats, their eyes fixed on the three prisoners standing in the center. At the highest tier sat the High Counselors, ancient beings who rarely showed themselves. Chief Justice Sung Min spoke first, his voice echoing in the chamber. These three conspired to undermine the council's justice. They attempted to show mercy where none was commanded. Their actions dishonor 2,000 years of tradition. Murmurs filled the room. One of the high counselors raised a wrinkled hand. We would hear from the human. Taiho stepped forward, feeling the weight of 1,000 alien eyes upon him. I came to teach mercy because I was asked to. The execution division wanted to learn how to kill better, without failure, without excessive suffering. I showed them that true justice includes dignity, even for the worst criminals. And why should we care about the comfort of those we execute? Another counselor asked. Because it's not about them, Taiho answered. It's about you. Each time you choose cruelty when it isn't necessary, you damage yourselves. You become less than what you could be. The chamber fell silent. Then, unexpectedly, Commander Dahyun stepped forward. High counselors, I have something to say. The council leader nodded permission. For 2,000 years, the execution division has served the council without question. We have been the galaxy's most feared force, bringing final justice to the worst criminals. Dahyun paused, then continued. And for 2,000 years, we have been wrong. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Sung Min's face twisted in outrage. This human showed us another way, Dahyun said, pointing to Taiho. A better way. When we executed the pirate Bakgil with mercy, he died with dignity. There was no struggle, no screams to haunt our dreams, just justice, clean and final. Dahyun turned to face the entire council. I stand before you not just as commander of the execution division, but as one who has learned. I ask that you spare these three. And more than that, I ask for mercy, not for the condemned, but for us, the executioners. We have been blind to suffering for too long. The high counselors conferred among themselves. Finally, the eldest spoke. In all our history, no commander of the execution division has ever admitted error. No executioner has ever asked for mercy. The ancient being's eyes fixed on Taiho. This human has indeed taught something valuable. Perhaps there is wisdom in mercy we have not considered. The council leader stood. The prisoners are pardoned, and the execution division will be reformed. From this day forward, all sentences will be carried out with minimal suffering. Commander Dahyun will oversee these changes, with Dr. Kim as permanent advisor. Chief Justice Sung Min stepped forward to protest, but the council leader raised a hand to silence him. The old ways have served their purpose, Sung Min. It is time for change. 3 months later, Taiho stood on the observation deck of the execution division ship, watching stars streak by. Beside him, HFY worked on a new sedative formula. The reports from the outer systems are positive, she said. Respect for council justice has increased since we changed our methods. Fear can control people for a while, Taiho replied. But respect lasts longer. Commander Dahyun joined them, looking more at peace than Taiho had ever seen him. The galaxy is changing, Doctor, and it started with one human teaching executioners about mercy. Taiho smiled. Sometimes the strongest lesson comes from the most unexpected teacher.